Admiral Park stood at the viewport, watching debris scatter across the stars where the Galactic Council station had been just hours before. 9 species representatives dead in an instant. Only luck had saved Earth's ambassador, who now sat pale-faced in the conference room behind him. "They call themselves the Void Heralds," Ambassador Kim said, voice barely steady. "They announced their intent to cleanse the galaxy before they opened fire." Admiral Park turned from the viewport. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes held a storm. 20 years in Earth's Space Force had prepared him for many things. This was not one of them. "Show me again," he said quietly. Ambassador Kim nodded and pressed a button on the table. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the final moments of the Galactic Council's Centennial Summit. The gathered representatives sat in their ceremonial circle, the proud Marians with their crystalline skin, the gentle Vorans with their 4 arms, the analytical Pelchans with their compound eyes. Earth's seat was modest, befitting their status as observers rather than full council members. The recording showed a flash of light as unknown ships appeared through jump points that shouldn't have existed so close to the station. The Council's protective fleet had no time to respond. A voice came through the communication channels, deep and emotionless. "We are the Void Heralds. Your existence is a mistake to be corrected. The cleansing begins now." Then came the weapons fire. The recording ended with Ambassador Kim being pulled into an escape pod by her security detail seconds before the main explosion. Admiral Park closed his eyes briefly. "You're certain about the numbers?" "Yes," Kim replied, her hands shaking slightly as she accepted a cup of water from an aide. 9 species representatives confirmed dead. The Talon and Zuveri representatives were late to the summit and survived. "We've lost contact with the Duran delegation." Park walked slowly around the table, his mind racing. Earth had always kept to itself in galactic matters. They maintained a small official fleet, joined trade agreements, and sent observers to council meetings, all while hiding their true capabilities. "The President has called an emergency meeting," said General Yoon, who had been silent until now. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the room, her uniform adorned with honors from conflicts most citizens didn't know had happened. "Protocol Sanctuary is being discussed." Ambassador Kim looked up sharply. "Already? But that would mean—" "It would mean revealing everything," Park finished for her. "The ships, the technology, our true history." The room fell silent. For 300 years, since humanity's first contact with alien life, Earth had maintained a careful deception. They presented themselves as newcomers to interstellar travel, technologically behind most council races. Meanwhile, deep in the solar system, they built and maintained a fleet that could rival any force in known space. "The Heralds have already attacked 3 more systems," General Yoon said, bringing up a galactic map. Red dots appeared across the display. "They're moving methodically, targeting populated worlds with council ties." Park studied the pattern. "They're working from the outer rim inward. Earth isn't in immediate danger, but our allies are," Kim finished. "And if the Heralds continue, there won't be much of a galaxy left to save." The room's communication system chimed. "Admiral Park," came the voice of the Earth President. "You and your team are requested at Global Command immediately. The Security Council has voted. Protocol Sanctuary is now active." Park exchanged glances with the others. 3 centuries of preparation, of waiting and watching, had come to this moment. "Send word to all outposts," he ordered an aide. "Wake the fleet." As they left the room, Park looked once more at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void Heralds were continuing their destruction, unaware that the quiet, observant humans they had dismissed were about to reveal their true strength. Humanity had hidden in plain sight for generations. That deception was now over. The ancient Armada was about to rise. Protocol Sanctuary was established for precisely this scenario. General Lee told the emergency summit. "Our ancestors knew to prepare while appearing harmless." The holographic display revealed what humanity had hidden for centuries, massive warships concealed throughout the solar system, technology far beyond what Earth had shared with their galactic neighbors. Captain June was selected to lead the response fleet. Her service record was impeccable, though few knew of her specialized training for this very day. The room fell silent as the images rotated above the central table. World leaders stared in disbelief at what their own military had kept from them. Ships the size of small cities hidden in the dark sides of moons. Weapon systems that could reshape planetary surfaces. Engines that bent space in ways their supposed advanced alien allies would find impossible. How? Asked the European Union president, finding her voice first. How was this hidden from us? General Lee's face remained calm. He had been keeper of this secret for nearly 30 years. A need-to-know program established after first contact. Each nation contributed resources through black budgets. The public portions of our space programs served as cover. On the screen, the largest vessel rotated slowly. Its hull gleamed with a metal not found on Earth, etched with symbols that looked ancient yet impossibly advanced. The Sentinel, General Lee said with a hint of pride. Our flagship. There are 12 like it, and over 100 smaller vessels, all fully crewed and ready for deployment. Captain June stood at attention near the back wall, feeling the weight of countless eyes turning to her. At 42, she had spent more than half her life preparing for this moment, training in simulators based on recovered alien technology, studying tactical data from conflicts Earth officially knew nothing about. Captain June, the Chinese premier, addressed her directly. You've been part of this program your entire career. Yes, sir, she replied. 3 generations of my family have served in Protocol Sanctuary. The American president leaned forward. Why you? Why not someone more senior? General Lee answered for her. Captain June has logged more combat simulation hours against Void Herald-type scenarios than anyone else in the program. Her tactical innovations have been incorporated into our battle systems. The hologram shifted to show footage of June in a simulator pod, her eyes focused as she commanded virtual ships against an enemy they had somehow predicted decades before it appeared. We've known something like the Void Heralds might exist, General Lee continued. Ancient records recovered from ruins in the Gobi Desert suggested a cycle of cleansing that happens every few thousand years. Different enforcers, same purpose, to reset developing civilizations. And you kept this from the council races? Asked the Indian Prime Minister. We had to. June spoke up, her voice steady. Our analysts believed that if the council knew what we suspected, they would either dismiss it as human superstition or take actions that might accelerate the cycle. The room buzzed with whispered conversations. The Australian representative raised her hand. What changed? Why reveal everything now? Because the cycle has begun, General Lee said simply. The Void Heralds have arrived earlier than our models predicted. If we don't act now, there won't be a galaxy left to save. Captain June stepped forward, activating her wrist computer. The hologram shifted to show a battle plan already in development. We can have the first response fleet ready in 24 hours, she said. Our initial deployment will focus on evacuating surviving council worlds and establishing defensive perimeters. The Japanese Prime Minister studied her closely. You don't seem surprised by any of this, Captain. June met his gaze. I've trained my entire life for this day, sir. All of us in Sanctuary have. We hoped it would never come, but we're ready. As the meeting continued around her, June's mind was already with her ship. The Sentinel had been her home during training rotations for years. Now she would command it for real, leading humanity's true first steps onto the galactic stage, not as meek observers but as defenders. The Void Heralds believe they're beginning a cleansing, she said quietly to General Lee as they left the chamber. Instead, they've awakened humanity's guardians. The general nodded. The fleet is yours, Captain. Bring our people back alive. The dormant fleet awakened. Ships emerged from lunar craters and Martian canyons, their hulls gleaming with technology that would shock their alien allies. Lieutenant Han guided the first cruiser from its hiding place beneath Europa's ice, My grandfather trained me for this day, he told his crew, as did his grandfather before him. When Ambassador Choi from the Luminar species saw Earth's true might, she could only whisper, all this time. The ice of Europa cracked open like an eggshell, massive pieces floating away as the cruiser Dauntless rose from its hidden dock. Lieutenant Han felt the ship come alive around him, systems powering up after years of waiting. His hands moved across the control panel with practiced ease, though this was the first time he had piloted the actual vessel rather than a simulator. Dauntless reporting full power, he announced through the fleet-wide channel. All systems optimal. Across the solar system, similar reports flooded in. From the dark side of the moon, 5 destroyers lifted off, their engine trails barely visible thanks to stealth technology. On Mars, hangar doors hidden in canyon walls slid open for the first time in decades, revealing squadrons of fighter craft. Even Venus, with its crushing atmosphere and acid clouds, surrendered its secret as a massive carrier rose from the planet's north pole, protected by shields that made the harsh environment irrelevant. "This is Captain June aboard the Sentinel," came the voice that would command them all. "All vessels report readiness status." Lieutenant Han checked his screens as his crew worked frantically around him. The Dauntless was the smallest capital ship in the fleet, but still impressive. Over half a kilometer long and armed with weapons that could tear through standard galactic shields like paper. "Dauntless ready, Captain," he reported. Crew at battle stations. One by one, the ships of humanity's hidden fleet confirmed their status. 23 capital ships, over 100 support vessels, and nearly 300 fighter craft, all hidden for generations, waiting for this moment. In orbit around Earth, Ambassador Choi stood frozen on the observation deck of her diplomatic vessel. The Luminar had always considered humans to be newcomers to space travel, pleasant trading partners with modest technology and limited military capability. Now she watched as vessels emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system, vessels that should not exist by her understanding of human technological development. "Ambassador," came a gentle voice behind her. A human aide stood there, looking apologetic. "Captain June requests your presence aboard the Sentinel." Choi nodded numbly and followed. Her transport shuttle approached what the humans called their flagship, and she finally grasped the true scale of their deception. The Sentinel dwarfed any Luminar vessel, its hull marked with symbols that reminded her of ancient artifacts found throughout the galaxy. Artifacts no one had connected to Earth. The shuttle docked, and she was escorted to the bridge where Captain June stood before a massive viewport, watching her fleet assemble. "Thank you for coming, Ambassador," June said without turning. "I thought you should see this firsthand." "How?" Choi asked, moving to stand beside the human captain. "How did you hide this from everyone for so long?" "Carefully," June replied with a small smile. "We maintained the appearance of having basic space technology while building this fleet in secret. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade agreement, they all served to reinforce the image of humans as harmless newcomers." On the main display, Lieutenant Han's Dauntless took formation with 3 other cruisers. Their hulls shimmered as some kind of adaptive camouflage activated, making them nearly invisible against the stars. "The Void Heralds have destroyed 3 more systems since the Council attack," Jun said, her expression hardening. "We've tracked their movement pattern. They'll reach the Luminar colony on Vega Prime in 4 days." Choi's 4 eyes widened in alarm. "Vega Prime has over 3 million of my people, which is why it will be our first defensive action," Jun said. She turned to face the ambassador fully. "We need your help, Ambassador. Your people must be warned that we're coming to help, and that we're not the simple humans they think they know." Choi looked around the bridge, taking in the advanced technology, the calm efficiency of the crew. "My people will have questions." "As they should," Joan acknowledged. "But explanations can wait until after we save them." On the tactical display, Lieutenant Han's voice came through as his squadron completed formation. "Battle Group 3 in position, Captain. Ready to jump on your command." Captain June nodded to her communications officer. All ships, prepare for system-wide jump. First target, Vega Prime. Ambassador Choi watched in amazement as the ships of Earth's hidden fleet began to disappear in flashes of light, using jump technology far more precise than anything the Council races possessed. After all this time, she said softly, "You're finally showing your true strength." Not by choice, Jun replied as the Sentinel's engines began to hum with power. But the galaxy needs defenders now, not observers. The Void Herald ships surrounded the refugee convoy until Earth's fleet arrived in a flash of light. "Target their propulsion systems," Captain Jun ordered. "Show them what Earth can do." Earth's weapons cut through the enemy shields like they weren't there. A captured herald later revealed their grim purpose. The purification cannot be stopped. The cycle demands it. The refugee ships huddled together, their engines straining as they tried to outrun the approaching Void Heralds. 12 ships filled with Luminar civilians, their home colony of Vega Prime, now nothing but floating debris behind them. The lead transport carried Ambassador Choi, who had barely managed to warn her people before the attack began. On the command ship of the Herald fleet, the being known only as Executor washed with cold efficiency. Its body was mainly mechanical, with only traces of organic material visible beneath its armored exterior. To the Executor, this was simply another cleansing operation, routine work that had been performed countless times across millions of years. "Refugee vessels identified," reported a subordinate, "calculating intercept course." The Executor nodded. "Begin standard elimination protocol." No survivors. The Herald ships accelerated, their angular black hulls absorbing, rather than reflecting the light of nearby stars. They moved with precise coordination, forming a net that would prevent any escape. The refugees had nowhere to go. Ambassador Choi stood on the bridge of the lead transport, watching the tactical display with growing despair. "How long until they reach us?" The Luminar captain's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in distress. "Minutes at most. Our engines can't push any harder." Choi touched the communication device Captain Jun had given her. "Where are you?" she whispered. As if in answer, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive flash of light erupted between the refugees and the approaching heralds. The Sentinel appeared first, its enormous hull gleaming in the starlight. Then came the destroyers, cruisers, and finally the fighter squadrons, Earth's fleet arriving precisely where they needed to be. On the Sentinel's bridge, Captain Jun assessed the situation instantly. 12 civilian transports, 23 Herald vessels approaching. "Tactical, give me firing solutions on their propulsion systems." "Solutions ready, Captain," replied her weapons officer. "Target their propulsion systems," Captain Jun ordered. "Show them what Earth can do." The Sentinel's main weapons batteries came to life, sending streams of energy that burned with an impossible blue-white intensity. The shots crossed the void in seconds, hitting the lead Herald ships with pinpoint accuracy. The Heralds had faced many species across countless cleansing cycles. Their shields had always been more than sufficient. But as Earth's weapons hit, those shields flickered and failed almost instantly. The energy beams continued through, slicing cleanly through engine sections and weapon emplacements. "Impossible," the Executor said, watching as 3 of its ships immediately lost power. "Scan that vessel. What are they using?" Before its subordinates could answer, Lieutenant Hans Dauntless led a squadron of cruisers in a flanking maneuver, targeting the Herald ships from another angle. More energy beams lanced out, disabling 5 more vessels. "Launch fighters," ordered Jun. "Protective formation around the refugee ships." Earth's fighter craft streaked away from their carriers, moving at speeds that made them appear as little more than blurs. They took position around the civilian vessels, creating a defensive screen. The Executor made a quick calculation. "Retreat," it ordered. "We cannot defeat this force with current resources." But the Earth fleet had anticipated this. The destroyers had already moved to block the Herald's escape route, their weapons trained on the remaining enemy ships. "Executor," came a transmission from the Sentinel. "This is Captain Jun of Earth. Your ships are disabled. Your escape is blocked." Surrender now. The executor considered its options. Surrender was not part of protocol, but neither was failure. After a moment's calculation, it activated the self-destruct sequence on its damaged vessels. June saw the energy readings spike. They're scuttling their ships. Tractor beams. Now. The Sentinel locked onto the Herald command ship with an advanced tractor beam, preventing its destruction while the other Herald vessels exploded around it. A boarding team led by Lieutenant Han secured the vessel and captured the executor. Hours later, in a secure holding area aboard the Sentinel, Captain June faced the executor. Ambassador Choi stood nearby, still processing the rescue of her people. "Why are you doing this?" June asked the mechanical being. "Why destroy peaceful worlds?" The executor's artificial eyes focused on her. "The purification cannot be stopped. The cycle demands it. All developing civilizations must be reset before they reach the threshold." "What threshold?" Choi asked. "The point at which they discover the truth." The executor's voice remained emotionless. "The truth that would end all cycles." June and Choi exchanged glances. "And what truth is that?" June pressed. The executor fell silent, its programming preventing further disclosure. But as the Earth fleet regrouped, preparing to protect more Council worlds, one thing became clear. The Void Heralds feared something they had been preventing civilizations from discovering for millions of years. And humanity, with their hidden fleet and advanced technology, might already know what it was. Earth became the center of resistance. Representatives from surviving species gathered in a hastily constructed space station. "You hid your strength from us," accused Representative Toole of the Meridian Compact. "And because we did, there's still hope," replied Admiral Park. "Now let's discuss how our technologies can complement each other." Captain June studied the star maps, planning their assault on the Herald staging area. The meeting room fell silent as Representative Toole's words hung in the air. His four-fingered hand slammed against the table, sending ripples through his cup of water. The Meridian representative's skin shimmered with anger, the natural blue coloration of his species darkening to nearly purple. "For 3 centuries," Toole continued, glaring at Admiral Park, "Earth presented itself as a minor power. You traded with us, asked for our protection, even requested our help with basic space technology, all while hiding this." He gestured to the window where Earth's massive fleet patrolled. Admiral Park remained calm. He had expected this reaction. In the 2 weeks since Earth had revealed its true capabilities, they had rescued survivors from 12 worlds and evacuated 3 more before the Heralds arrived. The gratitude of those saved was now mixing with anger at the deception. "And because we did, there's still hope," replied Admiral Park. "Now let's discuss how our technologies can complement each other." Ambassador Choi of the Luminar stepped forward. Her species had been hit hardest by the Heralds, with 3 colonies destroyed. "Admiral Park is right. My people would be extinct if not for Earth's intervention at Vega Prime. What matters now is stopping the Heralds, not dwelling on past deceptions." Across the room, other representatives murmured in agreement. They represented the 7 remaining Council species, plus 3 non-Council races who had fled to Earth for protection. All had lost worlds, citizens, or entire colonies to the Void Heralds. "We've analyzed the captured Herald technology," said General Lee, activating a holographic display. "Their ships are old, much older than they first appeared. The designs have been updated over time, but the core systems date back millions of years." The Peltian representative clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Like the ancient ruins found throughout our section of the galaxy." "Exactly," said Admiral Park. "We believe the Heralds serve whoever built those ruins, or perhaps what remains of them." In a separate chamber nearby, Captain June studied the star maps, planning their assault on the Herald staging area. Lieutenant Han stood beside her, pointing to a cluster of red dots. "Scout ships confirm heavy Herald activity in this region," Han said. "It appears to be their forward base for attacks on this sector." June nodded, zooming in on the system. What's bothering me is their pattern. They're being methodical, yes, but they're also avoiding certain systems. She highlighted several green areas on the map. These systems have habitable worlds but show no signs of Herald attacks. Perhaps they're saving them for later, Han suggested. Or perhaps, Jun said slowly, they're avoiding them for a reason. Their discussion was interrupted as Ambassador Kim entered the room. Captain, Admiral Park requests your presence. The council representatives have reached a decision. When Jun entered the main chamber, the atmosphere had changed. The earlier tension had been replaced with something else. Determination. Captain, Admiral Park said, gesturing her forward. The Alliance representatives have agreed to a joint operation against the Herald staging area. Their ships will join our fleet. Representative Toole nodded stiffly. Earth's technology is superior to ours in many ways, but we bring numbers and knowledge of the sectors the Heralds are attacking. We've also agreed to share certain technologies, added the Zuvari representative, her translucent skin glowing softly. Our sensor arrays can detect Herald jump signatures at greater distances. Combined with your weapons, we may gain a significant advantage. Captain Jun looked around the room, noting how quickly former adversaries and suspicious allies had united. There's something else you should know, she said, activating the star map she had been studying. The Heralds are avoiding certain systems. I believe they're afraid of something. The room fell silent as the representatives studied the highlighted areas. Those systems, Ambassador Choi said slowly, all contain ruins of the Forerunner civilization. Admiral Park's eyes narrowed. The same civilization whose artifacts we found on Earth thousands of years ago. The same technology that helped us build our fleet. Then we may have more than one destination, Captain Jun suggested. While our main fleet attacks their staging area, a smaller force could investigate these untouched systems. Whatever the Heralds fear might be our greatest weapon. The representatives looked at each other, centuries of distrust giving way to shared purpose. Earth had hidden its strength, yes, but now that strength would lead the fight for survival. Prepare your ships, Admiral Park told the gathered representatives. We move in 3 days. The combined fleet emerged from jump space into chaos. The Herald homeworld wasn't a planet, but a massive artificial construct. It's an eye, reported Science Officer Min as data streamed across her console. Ancient. It believes organic life requires periodic extinction. Captain Jun led the boarding team personally. In the central chamber, they found the core, technology identical to artifacts found in Earth's ancient ruins. It knows us, Jun realized with horror. The jump space transition completed with a flash of light that illuminated the bridge of the Sentinel. Captain Jun gripped her command chair as the sensors tried to make sense of what lay before them. The Alliance fleet, 23 Earth vessels, and 42 ships from the surviving Council races, had arrived at what intelligence had identified as the Herald staging area. But instead of a planet or space station, they faced something far more terrible. What am I looking at? Jun asked, her voice steadied despite her shock. The view screen showed a structure that defied easy description. It was roughly spherical but covered in angular protrusions that extended for kilometers. Parts of it seemed to phase in and out of normal space, creating a shimmering effect that hurt the eyes to look at directly. Herald ships swarmed around it like insects defending a hive. It's not a planet, Lieutenant Han said from the tactical station. It's artificial. Size estimates put it at roughly 1/3 the diameter of Earth's moon. Science Officer Min's fingers flew across her console as data poured in. Her eyes widened as patterns emerged from the chaos. It's an eye, she reported, her voice filled with disbelief. Ancient. According to these energy readings, it's at least 12 million years old. And it's conscious. The Herald ships had noticed the Alliance fleet. They moved with precision, forming defensive patterns around the construct. All ships, Battle Formation Delta, ordered Admiral Park from his command vessel. Prepare for defensive engagement. As the Alliance fleet spread out, Captain Jun studied the sensor readings from Officer Min's station. The construct was emitting signals on frequencies she had never seen before, except once, in the secure archives beneath Earth's sanctuary headquarters. "The excavation in Brazil," she murmured. "The artifacts match this signature." Min nodded grimly. "I'm detecting the same patterns we found in the Gobi ruins and the Antarctic site. Captain, I think this construct is connected to the technology we've been reverse engineering for centuries." The first Herald ships opened fire. The battle began with energy beams cutting across the void, shields flaring as they absorbed impacts. Earth's weapons proved superior, but the Herald ships had numbers on their side. "Admiral," Jun called over the secure channel, "I need to get a team onto that construct. The answers we need are inside." There was a pause as Admiral Park considered the request. "Can you reach it through this defense screen?" "Give me the Dauntless as escort, and I'll make it," Jun promised. 20 minutes later, Captain Jun stood in the Sentinel's launch bay with her boarding team. 12 of Earth's best soldiers, plus science officer Min and a representative from the Luminar and Pelchan forces. They wore advanced combat suits that would protect them in almost any environment. "The Dauntless will clear us a path," Jun explained, checking her weapon. "Once we're inside, we find the central control system and shut it down." Lieutenant Han appeared on the communication screen. "We're in position, Captain. Ready when you are." The boarding shuttle launched into space, immediately accelerating to full speed. Ahead, the Dauntless engaged 3 Herald ships, drawing them away from the shuttle's approach vector. Other Alliance vessels coordinated their attacks, creating a momentary gap in the defensive screen. "We're going to make it," Officer Min said as they approached the construct's surface. The shuttle's automated systems identified what appeared to be a docking port. As they landed and the team prepared to disembark, Jun felt a strange sensation, as if the construct was aware of their presence. Inside, the corridors seemed to shift and change as they moved. The architecture was alien yet somehow familiar, with symbols etched into the walls that matched those found in Earth's ancient ruins. "This way," Min said, following readings on her scanner. "There's a massive power source at the center." After navigating through shifting passages and avoiding patrol units, they reached what could only be the central chamber. A pulsing core of blue-white energy hovered in the center, surrounded by interfaces that seemed designed for beings with different anatomies than any known species. "It's an eye," Min confirmed as she scanned the systems. "Ancient. It believes organic life requires periodic extinction." "Why?" asked the Luminar representative. Min's face paled as she decoded more data. "It believes advanced organic life always follows the same pattern. Technological development, followed by wars that threaten galactic stability. The Heralds are its maintenance system, designed to reset civilizations before they reach a dangerous level." Captain Jun approached the core, where a terminal displayed symbols identical to those found in Earth's oldest ruins. As she reached toward it, the symbols began to change, forming words in perfect Earth standard. "Well, see you me home. Chichel Durayan of DKTs AEDERs. It knows us," Jun realized with horror. The terminal displayed images from Earth's history, the ancient sites where humanity had discovered the technology that gave them their edge. Sites that had been carefully hidden from alien visitors. "You were our last hope," a voice emanated from all around them. "The final experiment. The ones we designed to end the cycle." The core pulsed, and Captain Jun understood the terrible truth. Humanity hadn't just found alien technology. They had been created by it. 3 months after the final battle, Captain Jun, now Ambassador Jun, took her seat at the newly formed Galactic Alliance Council. "Earth kept its strength hidden because we remembered the last time these cycles happened," she explained to the assembled representatives. "Our ancestors survived one purge. We prepared for centuries to prevent another. The galaxy would rebuild, with humanity finally stepping forward as equals, no longer hiding their true capabilities or history." The new council chamber gleamed with fresh metal and polished stone. Unlike the old Galactic Council's ornate meeting hall, This room was built for function rather than show. The circular table had seats for all 15 surviving spacefaring species. At its center stood a holographic display currently showing the repaired sectors where the heralds had caused the most damage. Ambassador June adjusted her formal uniform, white with gold trim, the new colors of the Galactic Alliance. The weight of her new role still felt strange after years of military command. She looked across the table at Admiral Park, who gave her a slight nod of encouragement. "The repair efforts in the Vega sector are ahead of schedule," reported the Luminar representative. Ambassador Choi had been promoted after her role in the final battle. The new colony will be ready for settlers within 6 months. Similar reports came from around the table, each species working to rebuild what had been lost. When the updates finished, Representative Toole of the Meridian Compact looked directly at June. "There are still questions that need answering," he said. His tone was not accusatory, merely curious. "Many of us have wondered how Earth knew to prepare, and why you hid your strength for so long." The room grew quiet. This was the conversation many had been waiting for. Ambassador June stood and activated the central display. It showed ancient cave paintings from Earth, drawings made by early humans depicting strange visitors from the sky. "Earth kept its strength hidden because we remembered the last time these cycles happened," she explained to the assembled representatives. "Our ancestors survived one purge. We prepared for centuries to prevent another." She tapped a control, and the image changed to show artifacts discovered in various Earth locations: Brazil, the Gobi Desert, Antarctica. Objects with the same strange symbols they had found on the Herald construct. "The beings that created the AI called themselves the Seeders," June continued. "They visited countless worlds millions of years ago, experimenting with life forms. Earth was one of their special projects. They gave early humans knowledge, buried deep in our collective memory and in hidden caches of technology." Admiral Park added, "When we made our first contact with alien life 300 years ago, we recognized symbols from our ancient records. We knew then that the cycle the Seeders had warned about might still be active." "So you pretended to be less advanced than you were," said the Zuvari representative, "to avoid triggering the heralds." "Yes," Jum confirmed. "Protocol Sanctuary was established to build our defenses in secret while appearing harmless to both our allies and potential threats." The Peltian representative clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Yet when the heralds attacked the council, you revealed yourselves immediately. Why not remain hidden?" June smiled slightly. "Because the AI made a mistake. It attacked too soon, before all the pieces were in place, and because we had found something the Seeders left us, the key to ending the cycle permanently." The display changed again, showing the final battle. The Alliance fleet had surrounded the Herald construct, but rather than destroying it, a small team led by Lieutenant Han had installed a special device at its core. "The Seeders created the AI to preserve galactic stability," explained Science Officer Min, who now stood at June's side. "But they came to regret their creation. They couldn't destroy it directly, so they seeded various worlds with components that, when combined, could rewrite its programming. Earth had one piece," June continued. "We found others in the ruins on worlds the heralds avoided. Together, they allowed us to change the AI's purpose, from resetting civilizations to helping them cooperate." The final image showed the Herald construct, now orbiting a neutral star system, its aggressive ships repurposed as builders and explorers. "The entity now known as the Guardian has agreed to share its knowledge with all our peoples," Jun said. "Knowledge spanning millions of years and thousands of civilizations. In exchange, we have promised to work together to prove that its original purpose is no longer needed." Representative Toole leaned forward. "And if we fail? If our alliance breaks down as others have before?" June met his gaze steadily. "Then we try again. That's what the Seeders ultimately learned, that cycles of destruction aren't the answer. Progress comes through persistence, through learning from mistakes." The galaxy would rebuild, with humanity finally stepping forward as equals, no longer hiding their true capabilities or history. The new alliance wasn't based on fear or secrets, but on the shared understanding that together they could accomplish what no single species could alone. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador June looked out the viewport at the stars. For centuries, humans had watched those stars with a mixture of hope and dread. Now, for the first time, they could look upward with only hope. The ancient Armada that had saved the galaxy would not be forgotten, but with luck, it would never be needed again. Ambassador June stood and activated the central display. It showed ancient cave paintings from Earth, drawings made by early humans depicting strange visitors from the sky. Earth kept its strength hidden because we remembered the last time these cycles happened, she explained to the assembled representatives. Our ancestors survived one purge. We prepared for centuries to prevent another. She tapped a control, and the image changed to show artifacts discovered in various Earth locations: Brazil, the Gobi Desert, Antarctica. Objects with the same strange symbols they had found on the Herald construct. The beings that created the AI called themselves the Seeders, Jun continued. They visited countless worlds millions of years ago, experimenting with life forms. Earth was one of their special projects. They gave early humans knowledge, buried deep in our collective memory and in hidden caches of technology. Admiral Park added, when we made our first contact with alien life 300 years ago, we recognized symbols from our ancient records. We knew then that the cycle the Seeders had warned about might still be active. So you pretended to be less advanced than you were, said the Zuvari representative, to avoid triggering the heralds. Yes, Jum confirmed. Protocol Sanctuary was established to build our defenses in secret while appearing harmless to both our allies and potential threats. The Peltian representative clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Yet when the heralds attacked the council, you revealed yourselves immediately. Why not remain hidden? June smiled slightly. Because the AI made a mistake. It attacked too soon, before all the pieces were in place, and because we had found something the Seeders left us, the key to ending the cycle permanently. The display changed again, showing the final battle. The Alliance fleet had surrounded the Herald construct, but rather than destroying it, a small team led by Lieutenant Han had installed a special device at its core. The Seeders created the AI to preserve galactic stability, explained Science Officer Min, who now stood at June's side. But they came to regret their creation. They couldn't destroy it directly, so they seeded various worlds with components that, when combined, could rewrite its programming. Earth had one piece, June continued. We found others in the ruins on worlds the heralds avoided. Together, they allowed us to change the AI's purpose, from resetting civilizations to helping them cooperate. The final image showed the Herald construct, now orbiting a neutral star system, its aggressive ships repurposed as builders and explorers. The entity now known as the Guardian has agreed to share its knowledge with all our peoples, Jun said. Knowledge spanning millions of years and thousands of civilizations. In exchange, we have promised to work together to prove that its original purpose is no longer needed. Representative Toole leaned forward. And if we fail? If our alliance breaks down as others have before? June met his gaze steadily. Then we try again. That's what the Seeders ultimately learned, that cycles of destruction aren't the answer. Progress comes through persistence, through learning from mistakes. The galaxy would rebuild, with humanity finally stepping forward as equals, no longer hiding their true capabilities or history. The new alliance wasn't based on fear or secrets, but on the shared understanding that together they could accomplish what no single species could alone. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador June looked out the viewport at the stars. For centuries, humans had watched those stars with a mixture of hope and dread. Now, for the first time, they could look upward with only hope. The ancient Armada that had saved the galaxy would not be forgotten, but with luck, it would never be needed again.